Hey guys, EpicEpics here coming at you guys with our new replay analysis. So for the summertime, our captain, Alan Epic Moment, is away. He is doing an internship in China. So we made a pretty troll team called Gay Ass Hobos, GAH. Hope you guys enjoy. A lot of trolling coming from both sides. Not too serious. Hope we don't offend anyone here. But anyways, let's start with the pick and ban with X Kai here. So Kai, did we have the first pick or did they have the first pick?
We had the first pick.
Alright, so we went ahead with the Bat Rider band and the Magnus band. They went with the Skywrath. For those who are not following too closely the pro scenes, Skywrath is actually a very OP mid hero, and when mid game comes, his ultimate does over 1k AoE damage with only a 20-second CD. So when I say that, the AoE damage is split between the units among them, but still it's very powerful. A lot of magical damage. He has I think one spammable skill with only 2-second CD, so as mana comes, that scales very well as well. So he is very strong and has been pretty popular among the ban and pick phases of the current meta. And also they opted out to take away the NA, just because very standard. So we went with the Kato Wisp. Kato Wisp is a very interesting kind of support lineup, since that if the Wisp is tethered onto the Kato and the Kato chakras the Wisp, then both units heal up a significant amount of mana. So it gives a lot of spammability, and if Wisp is tethered to say Queen of Pain, and you chakra the Wisp, then the Queen of Pain takes over around 600 mana regeneration, and the Wisp with a 400. So very powerful in that sense. And then they went ahead to pick out the CK. I believe that was sort of a block ban, like almost a block pick to ban us from picking the Wisp CK combo.
Actually, we picked the Wisp to block their CK Wisp.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, they had the CK Darkseer. That's right. We had the first pick, and they had the CK Darkseer, and we picked the Wisp because it worked really well with the Keeper, and and also blocking the Wisp CK from them. And then we picked the Wisp Void, simply because we thought we might try this lineup. Void is actually pretty weak. A lot of times we ran it during just all pick pub games. Didn't work out too well. Void requires a lot of space for farm, and although he is very strong in terms of a one-on-one matchup between carry, also he can 2 or 3 shot supports late game, and inside a chrono he could snipe off a carry. It doesn't work too well against the CK, simply because CK is a hero that's going to be tanking up as much as possible, because his images, they only take one double damage, so they only take 200% damage, and on top of that, the CK actually, if you take a look here, Phantom Zone. Well, it doesn't say here. It says it takes double damage and deals full damage, right? Well, the damage bonus comes from stats, so he would essentially ideally get a heart or an armlet, so something that makes him really tanky. And the Void only has a 5-second window, a 6-second window at level 3 to burst that down. It's very hard even for 6-slotted Void, as you guys will see later. And then they opted for the AA. AA works very well just as a support to zone out heroes such as the Faceless Void. If you're inside a chrono and you need to DPS, before you get a BKB, you have to get out past the 3-second mark with the Cold Feet. So, it's channeling for after 4 seconds, right? Yeah, so it's channeling for 4 seconds. Your ultimate at level 1 has a duration of 4, and at level 3 has a duration of 6. So you may have to time walk out of there, or maybe if your time walk is down, you may start having to start backing out of your chrono before it even sets in place. And then for the banning phase, we banned out the Lashrak, the Jakiro, and the Tinker. Some very strong supports, since right now they are still lacking a strong support in their lanes, and they banned out the Beastmaster, the Storm Spirit, and the Puck. So actually 3 very strong mid laning heroes. You think there are any reasons why they banned out the Beastmaster specifically?
I think they were looking at potential offlanes we could have that might pose a problem for maybe their fourth or fifth pick they were thinking of picking up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Feel like I didn't really like our third pick on the Faceless Void for a number of reasons. Just because it doesn't synergize well with Wisp or Keeper, and it makes our tri-lane extremely weak. So if they opted to go aggressive, like we could have found ourselves in trouble. And also, picking up the Void so early means they could potentially pick up a Rubik since we didn't ban it. And then if they take a Rubik, it's pretty much a guaranteed free chrono for the other team
Yeah,
as
I was
well.
just gonna talk about that. So for you guys wondering, what I'm talking about is Rubik's ability to steal an ultimate, right? After it's cast. Well, the Faceless Void a lot of times would have to time walk into the battle and set up his Chronosphere. So in which case both of his skills are CD, and after Chronosphere, as long as the Rubik is not caught in it and doesn't get burst down, he's able to steal it. And even if he is caught, if he's not killed, then he will steal the Chronosphere. And another case is if you Chronosphere and your time walk is CD'd, well, most likely you won't time walk inside the Chronosphere. You're gonna try to DPS as much as possible and save your time walk as an escape. So that's almost a guaranteed Chronosphere steal on the Rubik, which is, yeah, like what Kai said, really hurts the team.
As well, Void
Yeah.
isn't really that popular, so we could have got away with it probably as a last pick, just because the other team, typically most teams won't even pay attention to a Void. It usually doesn't get banned or picked, so we could have definitely, it would have been a safe pick at a later point in the draft.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there may have been a lot of better heroes that would have synergized better with the Kato IO, right? I see PL is actually in this pool. If we really wanted to, we could have gone for a PL pick. It may not synergize too well with the Wisp. However, Wisp can still TP him around to maximize his farm during the early phase, and he could always threaten a teleport kill with another hero just to create space for farm.
So
And
even a tiny still left
yeah, and a tiny would have been just amazing. For you guys that are not too familiar, maybe we'll do a tiny game and showcase what Wisp Tiny is meant to do. A lot of people think Tiny is really strong in terms of a late game carry, but actually, that is not the case. It's the case that Wisp Tiny can farm up extraordinarily fast and have a 6-slotted Tiny, really push for a strong mid game. So how that happens is from Tiny's 2 nuking spells and the support stacking. So a Wisp would technically stack up a neutral camp, then have the Tiny one combo the neutral camp that is stacked, and then heal up his mana. With the Kato, it would be even easier since the Kato could nuke down the wave, have it soften up, and then have the Tiny to pick that up, and the Tiny to potentially get an Agnum Scepter in around 10 minutes. Agnum, treads, and then just go from there. But anyways, let's finish up the draft here. We went with the Queen of Pain, very strong mid hero. We're not sure who they're gonna put mid at this point, but Queen of Pain always powerful. The Puck is already banned out. In my opinion, Puck is one of the heroes that gives Queen of Pain a bad time. But other than that, Queen of Pain pretty much dominates because of her ability to blink around, secure the runes, her ability Shadow Strike to cancel any sort of regen, and as well as just general harass. Once you have that once you have that nuke stuck onto the enemy hero, they're unable to bottle for the next 15 seconds. They're slowed, and it's just really good for you to stay in control of the lane. They went ahead with the Enigma pick. The Enigma pickup was kind of a surprise for us at this point, but not so much since Darkseer sets that up very nicely. But it sort of puts them in an awkward position to pick, to put Rubik in the mid lane, right? What did you think about that?
Yeah, I was really confused at their lanes. I thought it would be a Darkseer mid with maybe Enigma jungle or something and
Yeah,
a defensive tri lane.
it was definitely awkward to say the least. But then we picked up the Tidehunter just to get a little bit of that AoE control back in our favor, considering that they have a Darkseer and an Enigma. If we opted for someone like, say, Clockwork, just because Clockwork and Wisp, very strong combinations, because Clockwork is one of the few heroes that could keep up with the long range initiations of the Wisp, but that might have given us, well, we might have lacked too much in terms of AoE control, and that might have hurt us. But yeah, that pretty much finishes up the pick and ban. Kai, you have anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the tie pickup at the end to round off things was really nice, since we need a team fight and a long lane. As you can see, our team fight isn't that strong. We have maybe just a Cauda Blast and our Chrono. I guess with the Queen of Pain coupled, like with everything together, we have like a really great synergy for AoE. So if we land everything, it's gonna be pretty good for us.
Yeah, and why we picked this game to showcase in our weekly replay analysis is just because it's so different. Looking at the two lineups, it looks really weird. Like Tidehunter, I don't think we have seen that in the pro game meta for quite a while, right? And Void, definitely not a hero picked up very often. And hope you guys, enjoyed the game. Here you guys will see that we are laning with the off lane Darkseer. Laning against Darkseer, you want to do one thing, is you want to see what the Darkseer skills first. Here he shows himself that he leveled up the Iron Shell, and he wanted to opt to kill this creep wave as soon as possible and get his level 2. Unfortunately, he's one creep away, and before he gets his level 2, he does not have Surge, no escape spell. We easily pick him off with the Wisp, Caudle, and Faceless Void. And in this lineup, as you see, we have no stun or lockdown for him, so as soon as he gets that Surge, we will be unable to kill him. And here, he runs up again, getting his Surge. Caudle, Wisp, long range right clicks. That's all they have on this Darkseer, and soon you guys will see that Michael, our Caudle, decides to rotate because not much is done up top, I believe. And that's one thing that laning in a tri-lane you guys want to know is whether or not you guys have the killing potential and how to actually maximize your ability to lane in the tri-lane. In this case, you may want to just opt for leveling up the experience. What Kai was saying before was, if we did have a tiny, then we could utilize the Caudle Wisp's chakra abilities to kind of maximize the stacking and the killing. However, that's not the case, and we are forced to play a more passive game than what we would have liked. And the Tidehunter got picked off right at the beginning, and he forced to level Anchor Smash to reduce the damage. So because of that, at level 1, he's unable to come or harass, and he's not very effective in ganking either. So he's just kind of roaming around, controlling the runes, maybe going for jungle. It felt like the Void was definitely hurting us in terms of picks at this stage of the game. Kai, what did you think of our early game?
Yeah, well, like when we picked this lineup, we knew initially that we can't really do much in the early game. Maybe just try to zone the Darkseer out and then continuously pull, because both of our supports are relatively level dependent. Since they really excel once, like Wisp excels once he gets his 6, but we didn't even really have anyone to combo with him that well this game, save for maybe a Quap or even a Tide. But we pretty much just have to make sure we don't fall too far behind in the beginning, and then try to win to the later portions of mid game into the late game.
Yeah, basically with the Void lineup, you are forced to go late game. You are not gonna do much at the early game, obviously, and during the mid game, unless you go up for a Midas and maybe Maelstrom build, where you're thinking of DPSing with the time locks bash bonus as well as the lightning that comes from the Maelstrom, you're not gonna be able to dish out a lot of physical damage, and because of that, you are kind of limited as to your effectiveness in a game. And whereas CK, he's powerful straight from the get-go. His Chaos Ball and Rift makes him extremely powerful, and he is extremely good at locking down people. Mid-game, his Phantasm starts to tank up, start to dish out a lot of physical damage. And late game, his images along with the Chaos Strike, if he has 4 images, 4 units including himself, dealing full damage and each critting for 300% damage, as 12% bonus, that's gonna be a one-shot towards almost any hero, maybe even a carry, right? So Chaos Knight definitely has more aggression, allows him, allows their team to play more aggressively, and picking the Void kind of puts us on a fat back foot. Although matching him for CS, the effectiveness of the Void will come much later. So Kai, is there anything else in the laning phase that you think is worth mentioning, or you think we should just move on to the next?
I think the next time, I think maybe our Tide should have opted for a different item choice, maybe like the Demon's roaming bottle kind of Tide Hunter, just because with their supports, the AA and the Rubik, coupled with a Rift and Cold Feet, it's really hard for the Tide to even show itself in lane. So he would have known he would have gotten zoned out. And so since he can't really stay in lane, he should probably just roam, help control runes, and maybe even gank mid or top. And that probably would have been a better use of his time until they decide to push the lane. He can rotate back to the tower to pick up some EXP.
I agree. He should have known that he had to rotate in the very beginning. Should have got a bottle, tried to control the runes, and just went around and gushed the lanes for you. As I saw, you just got picked off at mid lane. Doesn't look too good at the early phase. I am getting free farm, but as the Darkseer levels up, his Iron Shell is doing more and more damage to me, and I'm not gonna be able to have such a great time. And with the Wisp and Kato unable to really gank and unable to zone the Darkseer out, they are losing in terms of EXP towards the enemy supports and the enemy heroes, as the Rubik's is already level 5 and Ancient Apparition is already level 4, and their rotations coming in is gonna be a lot stronger. So if you guys ever have trouble laning, you guys can think about maybe different ideas, maybe having a roaming hero that sort of covers your tracks, cover your weaknesses in terms of different lanes. The Wisp told me to go gank with him, however he ran into the Chronosphere. I'm just gonna back up to show you guys here basically what happened. So the Darkseer just surged himself, and then I time walk in Chronosphere. He runs into me inside the Chronosphere. Then none of his orbs actually hit him, and he ended up dying. And instead of backing up, he chases all the way in and dies. So it was a very bad play, and then that causes me to actually overextend. I do not see this. I do not have vision of this, and they pop up right into a black hole. Cold Feet. I get frozen. Afterwards, he chains me with a Malefice. I try to time walk, gets animation cancelled, and last hit from the AA picks me off. I don't have a salve or anything to salve the last hit. It was very frustrating, to say the least. So maybe that's something else. The last thing to mention in the laning phase is that with a Void, with somebody who we knew had no effectiveness early game, you definitely want to just secure his farm. You don't want to opt for these kills and get greedy, and if you do, you better make sure that you stay clutch and you don't run into your opponent, your ally's Chronosphere, and just mess it up. So what basically the lesson here would be to secure free farm. Once you have free farm, continue to use the Kato, use his Illuminate, zone the enemy heroes back, have them back off, secure your farm, get that fast Battle Fury as soon as possible, and then get the BKB so you can start joining in on the fights. So that's it for the laning stuff. Let's move on to the next phase of the analysis. We skipped a bit forward and we are at the 20-minute mark the Void has gotten his Battle Fury. However, as you see, the net worth is very behind. In terms of last hits and denies, they're absolutely even. But as I mentioned earlier, due to the aggression he can put, he's 4-0 and I am 0-2. It's very powerful in terms of that, and we actually end up not being able to fight it off. And what I was mentioning earlier is that you want to just stay defensive, don't go too aggressive. So drop a Chronosphere, escape, because the name of the game now is to survive. If you can survive the initial aggression from the CK, from his fast Midas and armlet, you would most likely get your game back in control. At this point, I'm 3k under in terms of net worth, simply because of all the early towers that they have gotten, and right now they're about to get another one, and also that their hero kills and their different sort of assist gold, etc., etc. So they overextended a little bit here, and we actually get some much needed pickoffs. But even still, the CK is still bounds ahead in terms of net worth. Kai, what do you think about the first 20 minutes? We kind of showed in detail what happened in the first 10 minutes. And although trading free farm for free farm CK actually is much more effective, much faster, and the free farm Void unable to do anything during the mid game.
Yeah, as well, he got a really early Midas, so that accelerates his second and third item pickups. And since CK is usually typically an early aggression hero, his mid game's gonna come in really fast, as opposed to our Void, who didn't get a Midas, and he is still on a battlefield right now, which means he really can't really teamfight until he gets that second and third item, which will be slightly delayed until whenever he finds the space to farm it up, which puts us on the defensive for the good portion of the first half of the game.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
And at this point, I think we just have to turtle with our big cooldowns. Maybe go for pickoffs with the Queen of Pain ult and save our Ravages and Chronos for our good counter initiation if we think we're strong enough to take a fight.
I think it's pretty important that we survive at this point, because as long as we survive, the CK will snowball less and less in terms of his hero kills. As long as we don't get picked off, we won't. His net worth won't spike, as we saw earlier with the huge lead. We're kind of catching up now, simply because he will be a hero that needs to put on aggression, and he will be looking for the kills instead of opting to trade free farm for free farm, especially since the Void has the Battle Fury now. So now I'm able to clear these camps very fast, culling between these camps, clear these camps, take multiple neutral camps, and then afterwards come in the lane and cleaning up any sort of stray CS that's left for me. Whereas him, he can only sort of just CS in a lane or look for hero kills, right? And if he's not getting those hero kills, then he's wasting time, and you could tell distinctively from his item build that that's what he's going for. He's going for a drum, a Yasha, high mobility, high chasing potential, and also that armlet for that really fast aggression, really strong burst killing potential. So Kai, I think at this point, from when we started at the 20 minutes, in these 5 minutes, you actually see us getting a bit of control back. CK getting really cocky here, TP's in the T1, but fortunately I get a pick off right at the start, and off the tower, and then gets a Chronosphere off of him. Yeah, he does a clutch toggle, but that's not enough. And even with the Rubik stealing the Chronosphere and also the AA and the wall, we're able to pick him off. None of us die, and end up taking a T1 tower. And here you see the net worth actually going the other way, where Void starts to take the lead. Here we skipped another 15 minutes. We're doing a lot of skips because once you pick the Void, you know it's going late game. So here the Void picked up his second, third, and I guess 3.5 items. So with the Crystallis, right now it's 14-18. the Void is actually ahead in terms of net worth. And the Chilling Touch, along with the other stuff, no longer does anything to the Void with the BKB. Catching 3 people in a chrono, picking them off, whereas the CK, even with his Phantasm, is unable to chase down all of the supports. You know, he is able to do it, but it's not as effective as, say, Chronosphere on top of a clump to a bunch. And with the overcharge on top of the Void, he's able to tank through most of CK's damages. Although CK has the Manta style and the drums, with the Void's time walk capability, along with the tether movement speed, he's able to chase down the enemy heroes. And Wisp actually is farmed as heck with a Heart of Tarask that also really helps with the Void's survivability in terms of his team fight and then healing up afterwards. So I think this is a good showcase of how the time and how things progress within a game, especially with a hero pickups, matchups such as the Void carry along with the CK. I'm talking about these 2 heroes because they were the ones given the most amount of farm, also in turn given most sort of effectiveness in a game, right? Because they were given so much farm. So controlling the pace, after getting the butterfly and the Black King bar, he's much more survivable. For those viewers that don't know, backtrack is procced when an ability hits you, and once it hits you, you have a 25% chance to heal back the damage that you've taken, even if the damage is fatal, as long as the damage is not more than your full health. So basically what that means is you're able to backtrack when you get hit, whereas evasion from the butterfly, that 35% chance denies the ability for them to hit you. So the enemy only has a 65% chance to hit you. And within that 65% chance, there's a 25% chance for you to backtrack that damage. So if you want to calculate it, it would be 65% chance multiplied by 0.75%. So you end up being able to dodge more than half of the damage coming from enemy team. And that gives his effective health pool towards physical attacks to more than 3k, and where his magical attack adds another quarter of his life. So that's very, very powerful. That makes him very, very powerful. And actually, sorry, it's not a quarter, it's divided by 0.75, so it's actually more than adding a quarter, more like adding a third. Anyways, we see sort of an engagement here, and you see here, oh, actually this was an interesting fight. I chronoed him right on the edge, and my attack I cancelled just on the edge, and then right on the edge the Enigma freaking pulled me in. It was a misplay on my part. I tried to cancel my attack animation too early, missed the auto attack, and the freaking CK lives. Huge mistake on my part, and CK heals up and we're unable to actually push in. But if I speed up a little bit, you guys will see we actually do some good amount of damage. However, unable to push in because the damn CK, I didn't manage to kill him. And Michael here, because he got level 16, he tried to recall and TP, and unfortunately the higher level you get, the less likely you're able to pull it off, and at level 16 you're unable to, because there's a delay with the recall. It's at 3 seconds with the teleport, where the teleport is a 3-second delay. So at level 1 you have a 2-second window opportunity, level 2 you have a 1-second opportunity, and unfortunately he got level 16 and that actually denies him from doing that, and I get picked off. So we're gonna skip a bit more forward from now on to a time later on, and you guys can get an even better feel of how the game progresses. At this point of the game, 48 minutes in, you see that they are very desperate to make something happen. And Darkseer here chases in way too deep before he drops off the wall or anything. Although the Enigma follows up, there's a BKB on the Void, and I am able to withstand his full black hole. However, a misplay on my part is that I get orchided and I'm unable to drop off the Chronosphere. So like what I mentioned with the CK being powerful from early, mid to late game, this is a good showcase of that. His images were critting 900 damage along with his main hero. So he has 4.2k health when he has the arm lift turned on. That's way too much damage, yeah, way too much effective health for even a Void with a crit, Butterfly, and a Battle Fury to go through. So his armor at 22 has a 57% reduction. So I have to DPS about over 8,000, 9,000 damage to kill him. And although I'm doing 400 damage a hit, critting for 900, that's still maybe 15 hits or more to kill the damn CK, depending on my luck with the crit. And Kai, what do you think at this point of the game? Like, was it a good idea for us to have dragged it on? Would you suggest the viewers to drag on when you pick a Void? Although I don't think we had much of a choice in terms of controlling the pace of the game. What do you think?
Well, I think if you look at our lineup, we really don't have any pushing potential at all. We have nothing to really go high ground with. And also, Void is definitely one of the hardest carries in the game. So, like, it's definitely possible for us to take team fights outside, maybe go for pickoffs, or force a fight at Roche, since we do have the Ravage and Chrono, and the small area that is the Roche pit would be an ideal place for us to pick a fight.
I agree. And actually, I just want to add on to what I was saying. The CK, although his images are powerful, it's a 140-second CD, where the Void's DPS never diminish. His Chronosphere is great. It has a shorter cooldown than the Phantasm, but at the same time, his damage output is always going to be there. It's going to be constant, and that's a big thing to note when you're talking about late game as well. But please continue, Kai.
Yep, so the later our game drags on, the better it is for us, just because we have a lot of good AoE ults, like in the Quap ult, and then our Tide is getting close to our Refresher, and that will be absolutely huge against a CK, because it pretty much negates his ultimate for the duration of the fight, because 2 Ravages plus a Scream of Pain can definitely take out the images. Like, because right now the images take double damage, so putting the images roughly around 2k HP with 2 Ravages, a Scream, not to mention Caudal Blast, it's more than enough to take out the
and along with the Battle Fury Cleave coming from the Void, which is nothing to joke about either. It's about 100 damage, 150 damage per hit, going at how many hits per second? 0.6 per attack, right? So around 2 hits per second, and with the overcharge on the on the Wisp on top of the Void, you know, you're able to dish out maybe 400 or 500 damage per second cleaving, right?
That being said, their team fight is also very strong in the late game, but the Darkseer, he went in for the Aghanims, which means his Void Illusion actually does more damage in terms of right click than for the viewers, just a quick mechanic note. The images take damage from your stats. So items like Butterfly adds 30 agility and 30 damage. The 30 agility will transfer over to the image fight. To the image where the 30 damage wouldn't. Quick engagement coming up. Let me go back to it actually, because I was talking about the mechanics. What happened here was, let me go back just a little bit more so you guys will see more clearly. So what happened was they warded up here. Somebody came up and warded right here. So we knew they were somewhere around this area. So then we smoked up and we decided on the minimap, we drew a line like this that we would circle around. And as you see here, the CK is just canceling his ult, waiting to go in, scouting with this. Then suddenly we come up behind. Bam, bam, bam. We catch all of them here, separating the team. The Enigma unfortunately freaking catches me off at the back, but it doesn't matter because all of them are zoned out in that area. And it's a clean wipe. And what we mentioned about the Rubik having always going to be able to have the Chronosphere, it's quite annoying, but does not really matter. We wiped them 4-0. And we are able to take a Roche or put Rax. I think in this case we opted to Rax because of what we talked. Oh yeah, our Wisp player dying to his own image. I'll go back to it just so you guys can see this freaking. So yeah, he scouts it with his image and then he runs in and dies. Pretty funny. But anyways. We opt to push in because of what Kai was saying, that we do not have the push capability to actually go high ground without team fighting. And
Here I will speed it up. As you see, it's just the Void. It's just the Rubik defending, and he's unable to do much as we take the racks from them.
That Roche fight pretty much was the nail in the coffin for this game, because we were able to capitalize and push our advantage further while taking a Rax and Roshan.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess this is something you guys can know also. If you guys wipe 4 of them and you guys are close to Roche and you see your side lanes are all pushed out, especially in the later parts when these towers are gone, this tower, this tower, this tower, and this tower, you're safely able to push out and then come back and take the Roshan on your side. So that's the same thing for if you're on the Radiant side. You could push out the Scourge enemy side, the Dire, sorry, and after you clear out all this, as long as they don't have these towers to defend the Roshan, then you are relatively safe to just come back and take it after you push in. And instead of opting to, instead of here panicking after we wiping them and after we wipe them and then going for the Roche right away where we would have just picked up a Roshan, this way, like what Kai said, we push it for our advantage even further by taking these Raxes first and coming back for the Roshan. And if you guys notice, I am 6 slotted with buyback, so the Aegis actually went to the Queen of Pain and the Cheese went on the Wisp. So this is absolutely just crucial. When Wisp is taking a lot of damage, he most likely won't get bursted with the Ghost and the Heart of Tarask. He could tether on an allied hero and then eat the cheese, and that would be an instant heal on the Wisp and on the hero that he is tethered to. So very powerful advantage for us. And although they single man black holed me, they're unable to pull me off. I get a pretty good chrono off this time, finally catching this Rubik, bursting him down, and still with this. Sorry, I can't select my hero. Still with the Satanic CD'd, I would not get picked off, and along with the Wisp and the Cheese, easily able to save through. We trolled them a little bit here. I speed forward that section just because, I don't really appreciate other people bad mannering, so we sort of trolled them back since they were trolling us earlier, while having a bit of fun with them. But anyways, you guys saw what happened here, going from a very weak early game, very weak laning, surviving the mid game, coming in strong at the 38-40 minute mark where Void has his tri-core items, his butterfly, Black King Bar, and the Battle Fury, and then later at the late game with 6 slots coming in with really strong survivability with these 2 items, having really strong survivability with the evasion along with the backtrack, and just amazing offensive capability with the basher crit, with the natural bash, the crit, and the butterfly attack speed damage. Kai, you think there's something to add towards this game while we are approaching the end?
I think, just if you pick a hard carry like Void who doesn't really do anything until he gets, say, his 3rd or 4th item, be sure to draft up strong early game heroes like Coddle, for especially to prevent the enemy from pushing into your high ground. You definitely need a lot of good team fight or counter push if you want to, say, get away and make it to late game with a Void. And you pretty much essentially have to build your lineup around a hard carry like Void.
Yeah, you definitely need to build your lineup around the carry that you guys are hoping to use, and you definitely need to consider your laning as well as what you have to do past laning phase. So with the Wisp, although it's a very strong kind of pickup, it's not very good in terms of his it's not very good in terms of this lineup to go for the pickoffs. If we had the chance to take the CK, it would have been a lot more powerful. We would have been able to get a lot better pickoffs. We would have be able to actually put in a lot of more aggression, a lot more trolling going on here. Anyways, you would be able to get a lot more aggression going, and at the end, it worked out for us, but it was definitely a long and very arduous game. Only died 4 times total. Most of them in a team fight, aside from the first pick off. If they put on more pressure, if we didn't survive, if this kill assist number were different, probably wouldn't have been able to win the game. And although late game came and all of us were getting farmed, carry to carry, control in terms of map control, we were definitely losing out. Hope you guys enjoyed this replay analysis. Hope it was helpful. See you guys next week.